The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are simply that, opinions. All are presumed innocent until proven otherwise in a court of law. Sensitive topics are discussed. Discretion is advised.
That girl killed that little boy. She killed that little boy. She cracked his skull.
The state still doesn't know how it happened, where it happened, why it happened, who it happened, or even with what was used for it to happen.
We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty on counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. The verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Beauty queen Trinity Poague convicted in the murder of little baby JD. We've got live reaction this morning from the lead prosecutor. Plus, we're learning more about what happened on that cruise ship that killed 18-year-old Anna Kepner. A family custody battle is revealing some shocking new details. Plus, will OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny get out of jail ahead of her murder trial? We've got one of America's favorite judges on the program to weigh in. Also for you this hour, we begin spotlighting 12 days of holiday crimes. First up is a case that had an Idaho community in terror from Thanksgiving all the way to New Year's Eve. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Monday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. We missed you here at Court TV and we put together a great show for you to kick off your week. Let's start it off as we always do, my friends. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. From strutting on stage to strutting through the prison yard. Beauty queen Trinity Poague turned out to be a killer after all. The jury followed the evidence and it led to her. She took the life of precious baby JD. She resented him and she punished that beautiful, innocent baby. Shows us you can't judge a book by its cover. You never really know what a person is capable of, and it sure didn't seem like Miss Donaldsonville 2023 could ever harm a baby. But in private, she wasn't Miss Congeniality. And poor baby JD paid the price. That child was failed by way too many people in his life. His mother abandoned him. She ran off to Mexico. His father didn't even know his legal name until he died. He tried caring for him the best he could, but he made the mistake of passing him off to girlfriend Trinity Poague to stay in her dorm room. Babies don't belong in dorm rooms. Babies shouldn't be fed Fritos and Mountain Dew. It is a crying shame that baby JD wasn't cared for properly. He should be alive today. Instead, he is with the angels. And we certainly won't forget him. Baby JD's life mattered. That's my opening statement on this Monday morning. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
Where are you?
And what is the date and time of this?
January 3rd, 2023, 6:39 a.m. I'm worried. Please call or email.
What time was this sent?
January 3rd, 2023, 6:39 a.m. If I don't hear from you this morning, I'm going to report you missing.
What is the date and time this was sent?
January 3rd, 2023, at 8:32 a.m. Where are you?
And what is the date and time that was sent?
January 4th, 2023, at 10:14 a.m.
In Massachusetts, we've got the state's case continuing at 9 a.m. and the murder trial of Brian Walsh will take there live once it's underway. In California, we've got opening statements expected in the lip filler child killer murder trial for defendant Maya Hernandez. She's accused of the hot car death of her 1-year-old Emilio Gutierrez. Court's going to get underway at noon Eastern time. And in New York, we've got accused assassin Luigi Mangione expected to be in court for his suppression hearing. The hearing was postponed Friday due to him being sick. It's going to start up at 9 a.m. Right now, let's turn to your top story. We're hearing from the lead prosecutor in the murder trial of the former beauty pageant queen, Trinity Poague. Boy, that's a mouthful. She broke down sobbing in the courtroom after she learned her fate. Let's take a look together now.
The verdict reads as follows as to each count. On count 1, it says, we, the jury, find the defendant not guilty. On counts 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, the verdict reads, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty of felony murder, 2 counts, aggravated battery, 2 counts, and cruelty to child in the 1st degree.
Poague received a life sentence with a possibility of parole after 30 years for the murder of little J.D., his legal name Romeo Angeles. Here to talk about that guilty verdict and the aftermath, let's bring in our very special guest this morning. The lead prosecutor on the case is with us, Louis Bud Lamb. Good morning to you, Bud. Thank you so much for being on the program, and congratulations on the win. You were excellent in the courtroom.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Oh, well, we appreciate you. Take us kind of behind the scenes, if you would, please. We know what happened through the trial because we watched every second of it. It was gripping. And not an easy case for you either. There are always some things that can't come into evidence that you know about or theorize about that the jury just can't. Would you kind of take us behind the scenes into some of that information that had to be excluded, please, Bud?
Well, there was a lot of information concerning Ms. Poague that did not that didn't come into evidence that we had available, I suppose, and some of it was things that I don't know would necessarily have been admissible. A lot of it was stuff that we chose not to use. I had 2 long interviews with her that she had done with the GBI, and I chose not to put those in unless she testified. I was, I guess, like every prosecutor, sort of hoping that she would testify because I had a lot to cover on cross-examination, I'll say it that way.
Oh, yeah, tell us more.
She gave probably 5 different stories at one time or another. Her final, sort of the final version of her alibi, I guess, was that the child rolled off of the air mattress sometime, and then later that night fell off of the bed, and then the next morning fell off of the chair. So every possible, hypothesis that she had offered at any time, she blended them all together ultimately into a single story. What she never did was point any fingers at the father of the child. I mean, he wasn't involved in any way in the injuries to the child, accidentally or otherwise, and I think that she knew that because of the timing of it, that there was no way that she was going to be able to successfully do that, and so she didn't attempt to.
Interesting. Let's unpack that a little further, please, Bud, because we saw her defense team hint at the baby's father being the problem, and then once he got on the stand and you were able to unpack everything with him, we could see that he was trying the best he could. Was it perfect? No, but he was trying. How carefully did you vet him initially when you first got the case, first look, just to make sure that you had the right defendant?
Well, I mean, I'll tell you, as I said during the trial, he sat through the first 8 hours after he found out that the child had died. He spent 4 of the next 8 hours being interviewed by the GBI and sitting in a police station in between. He went straight from the hospital to the police station, which is where he remained until after 1 o'clock in the morning. They went after him as hard as they went after her in the initial round of interviews. But of course, he was insistent that he wasn't there, and that he had left, and that everything was okay when he left. And then, as they started seeing these, there were lots of videos and photographs, pictures that had been taken that night. At one time or another, there was, of course, all of which showed the child in good health, without any bruising, without any marks on his face, without any symptoms of any type of injury whatsoever. So I don't think that there was ever really a question as to whether or not he had or could have done something to the child in advance of the time frame that we contended the injuries occurred in. And I mean, there was nothing at all that would indicate that was even a possibility. Then, of course, with a video from Georgia Southwestern, we were able to confirm that he, in fact, had done exactly what he said he did. I mean, what time he left, what time he got back, his actions after getting back. And so ultimately, it became clear that he was not involved at all.
Right.
Which left only one person.
Right. You got the right defendant. That's for sure, Bud. Let's talk a little bit more about how she may have killed baby JD. What's your theory as to what exactly she did in that dorm room?
Well, I mean, I don't think anyone will ever know exactly what happened, but I mean, what I think happened and what makes the most sense in light of all of the evidence that we had is that, this child was crying, this child was upset once the father had left, that she couldn't get him to be quiet, that she, I can't tell you that she slapped him, that she did whatever, but there was a mark on his face, as the medical examiner testified, that was fresh, that was very compatible with either this kind of a grip that was, so hard that it left a bruise here, or a slap across the face, and then the injury at the base of the skull. There were other bruises on the head, and there was also internal injuries in the abdomen. His liver was lacerated. His adrenal gland was lacerated. There was bleeding around his lungs and around his ribs. And I think that throwing the child against something, picking him up, the medical examiner hypothesized that he might have been picked up, by his shoulders like this and slammed down really hard against a desk, against a bed. And there's no way to know what object was used because there weren't any external injuries. So there was no bleeding. There was nothing that anybody could see with their eyes.
Sure.
But I think that's what happened. She just simply lost it. I mean, she didn't like the child, and for whatever reason, she didn't like the child. She had made that clear. And I think that when somebody doesn't like a kid, it becomes very easy to lose your patience. And I think that's exactly what happened. She just lost it, and once she flipped out, there was no. There was nothing sane about the approach, about the injuries or the process she went through.
No, just awful. Well, this was a tough case to try. It's really hard to try a baby death case. It's awful. It really takes special people to do it, and you are one of those very special people. Prosecuting Attorney Lewis Bud Lamb, thank you so much for your time this morning. We'd love to have you back on Court TV. Maybe you'll come on and analyze another case for us when there's no pressure, you're not in the courtroom, not trying the case. We'll just have you on to look at another one. That'd be great. Thank you so much.
Be happy to do it. Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Coming up next for you here on Opening Statements, here's what we've got.
Was she given the option of staying in another room?
All three of the kids were.
Okay. And would that room have been with Grandma and Grandpa?
Correct.
And they didn't want to do that?
No, they wanted to stay together.
Did they all get along?
Yeah, the three of them are like the three amigos. They're best friends.
We're learning more about what led up to 18-year-old Anna Kepner's death through an explosive family custody battle. And later in the show, we're kicking off our 12 days of holiday crimes, all big cases that in one way or another have a connection to the holidays. And this morning, we're zeroing in on the Idaho student murders case and killer Koberger.
The Court TV podcast will return.
As the court is aware through the pleadings, there's a young lady who's passed away. That matter is still under investigation. That was not my client's child, but the stepchild of the mother in this case, and the remaining 16-year-old is now a suspect in that case.
Now for what's trending in true crime, we're learning more about what led up to the homicide of 18-year-old Anna Kepner. She died on a Carnival cruise ship, and new details are revealing things that were going on in the dynamics of the family. We know this from a child custody hearing. Chantel Hudson Kepner is married to Anna Kepner's father. Okay, so she's Anna's stepmom. That's her there on the left there. And she's in a dispute with her ex-husband over the custody of their 3 minor children. So one of those kids is obviously Anna, and Anna's, one of those kids is the 16-year-old stepbrother of Anna, who is the suspect in her murder. The teen suspect's dad, Thomas Hudson, filed an emergency petition asking for sole custody of his 9-year-old daughter, saying that she was in imminent danger because of what happened on the cruise. And a stepmom testified to the sleeping arrangements that were going on that vacation. Take a listen.
As far as the minor children, what were the sleeping arrangements on this cruise?
Brooke was in my room with my husband and his 9-year-old daughter, and then shared a room with his stepsister and stepbrother. The room was directly across from ours.
What was the stepsister's name?
Anna Kepner.
And what was the stepbrother's name?
Connor Kepner.
And how old is Connor?
14.
And how old was Anna?
18.
Now, who made the decision to have these 3 teenagers in one room in the cruise?
We had talked it over with our travel agent, and that was what was suggested.
Okay, so these young teens are all in a room together on this cruise ship. Anna Kepner's death was ruled a homicide by asphyxia after she was found underneath a bed in a cabin in that room that she was sharing with the stepbrother, who's being called a suspect in this by his own father, okay, in the custody battle. The FBI is not saying it, but these family court filings and hearings are telling us a lot. So let's talk about the family dynamics and what led up to Anna Kepner's homicide. Let's bring in our outstanding guest now. I have with me retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindeffer and board-certified forensic psychiatrist Dr. Carol Lieberman. Good morning to you, brilliant ladies. All right, this is just awfully sad, as you know, what happened to this young girl. She's in the room with those boys. What do we think about the dynamics here and what was going on? Jen, would you start us off, please?
Yeah, absolutely. When you look at this situation, you have to ask what was going on in their relationships prior to this cruise. And certainly there's information we're hearing about issues between this boy, the stepbrother, and Anna Kepner. So with that being considered, it is remarkable to me that they were all kept in one room. Why not keep the same genders together in one room and put the boys in another room with the parents?
Right, Jen. Dr. Carol, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it was an accident waiting to happen. And instead of talking it over with their travel agent in terms of how to save money on the cruise by squishing people together, they should have talked it over with a therapist. Because, yes, Anna's ex-boyfriend has said that he was on FaceTime with her on one occasion, and the stepbrother, the suspect, got on top of her. And he apparently, the stepbrother was infatuated with her. And so the most likely scenario is that, so you wouldn't, when people have blended, a lesson we can learn from this is that when people have blended families, yes, they can work out beautifully, but not if they're pushed together too quickly. And you need to be very careful about understanding the relationships with each of them.
Right, Dr. Carol. I have a clip here. This was at a recent custody hearing where you'll hear an attorney off camera saying that Anna Kepner's stepbrother, this suspect, was hospitalized after Anna's death.
Mom immediately
after the incident, he was hospitalized, and then when released from the hospital, mom and dad participated too. They signed a stipulation basically allowing him to live with mom's relative, and they're getting counseling and so forth for him.
Okay, so he was hospitalized for psychiatric observations immediately after Anna's death. He's in counseling now. He's staying with a relative. Dr. Carroll, what do you think about this young man and that hospitalization?
I think that's a very telling fact, because, it speaks to his having had some kind of a psychiatric breakdown, some kind of an event. Obviously, if he would have felt rejected, killed her, and afterwards, of course he would be in turmoil. But, also he was taking medications for ADHD, and he was taking Concentra, and also clonidine. The clonidine was at night, and he missed 2 doses. I mean, it seems like the general view of the whole family was that they really weren't paying close enough attention to the kids. Especially, Anna didn't tell, according to the ex-boyfriend, Anna didn't tell her family about the stepbrother, trying to get on top of her and all of that. She was afraid of him. And she was afraid that if she told, that he threatened her, actually, that he would do something to her if she told. So she didn't tell, but he carried a knife, according to her, or according to reports. And also she would sleep often in the dining room or at friends' homes because she was afraid of him. And how the parents didn't know about this before they stuffed them in the room together, they're responsible too.
Right, Dr. Carroll. I want to ask you more questions about the mixing of medicines with alcohol in just a second. Agent Coffendeffer, to you on the point of mom, according to some relatives that testified at the hearing, mom was giving alcohol to the teenagers. I recognize they were on international waters. You served with the FBI. Is there any legal concern here for a parent to serve their minor child who couldn't drink on land in the United States alcohol on a cruise ship?
Well, it's such an issue because whenever you have other countries concerned, such as the U.S. Virgin Islands or the Marshall Islands, Guam, all these territories where the FBI has jurisdiction, and you have different local laws and mores and cultural acceptances in those countries. So that's what you have to consider. And certainly on international waters, I think there could be possibly some issues with that if it could be proven.
Thank you for that, Jen. This is just terrible. It was like one mistake, one bad decision after the next that led to this child's death. I have a clip here. This is some family at the hearing talking about seeing her serve the underage children.
Do you know if the children, based on being in international waters, could drink alcohol?
No.
You don't know?
No, they didn't. They're not old enough.
As far as does he have any diagnoses?
He has ADHD.
Did he take the medication on the cruise with him?
Yes. He also takes a nighttime pill as well.
The same medication?
No, it's clonidine.
What is that for?
Insomnia. He took his morning pill every day, and he missed 2 doses of his clonidine at night.
Okay, missed 2 doses of his insomnia pills. He was also on ADHD medication. Dr. Carroll, talk to us here. Any concern with the mixing of alcohol in these meds?
Sure. In general, you shouldn't be mixing alcohol with any kind of psychiatric meds. And these meds, the Concentra and the clonidine especially, are especially dangerous with alcohol. It was just such carelessness. And in general, the Concentra, for the ADHD that he's supposed to take in the morning, that is supposed to, help him. It's kind of activating, let me just say it that way. And the clonidine is pushes down on the ADHD and on the Concentra. And so if he missed the 2 doses of that, he would have been having more of the activating kind of medication. I know I'm sort of explaining it in general terms, but that's the gist of it. And so that well could have contributed to whatever he did, allegedly, to Anna.
Doc, thank you for that. Agent Coffindeffer, to the FBI investigation, we haven't heard a peep. Why do you think that is?
Well, the FBI is going to keep everything quiet. It's just not their mantra to come out. We weren't allowed as agents to ever speak to the media. That is the way we practice. But when you look at this, it's so complicated because we have a 16-year-old involved. And the Juvenile Delinquency Act specifically says that you have to typically transfer these cases to local authority. That is how it works, specifically because they have, meaning the local jurisdictions, can adjudicate this and properly handle the juvenile. The federal system just doesn't have that situation in their realm. However, it can be elevated in very violent cases up to an adult stature. If that happens, then this could be charged federally, but it's rare.
Oh, wow. Something certainly to watch for. Jen, thank you so much for that. A great discussion on this case. We're going to continue to follow it, and if we hear any information, you'll see it here on Court TV. Jennifer Coffindeffer, Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you both so much for the great insights. See you soon. Still to come here on Opening Statements. Here's what we've got.
Yeah, there was a little bit of confusion with speeding because someone had stopped. I wasn't sure what they were doing, and then they put on their light to turn. So I thought that maybe they were letting me go through.
Oh.
Did you see that?
No.
Coming up next, a brand new segment in our spotlight. We're calling the 12 Days of Holiday Crimes, as we're talking about infamous cases occurring around the holidays. And today we're beginning with the Idaho student murders. Plus, the fight for OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny to be released on bond. One of America's favorite judges is on the show to weigh in.
Now, back to the Court TV podcast.
Welcome back. It was November 13th, 2022. Students at the University of Idaho were looking forward to the Thanksgiving holiday. And then the unthinkable happened.
Detectives arrested 28-year-old Brian Christopher Kohlberger on a warrant for murders of Ethan, Zena, Madison, and Kaylee.
He was stalking them. He was hunting them.
You could tell there was something off about him.
A quadruple homicide in Moscow, Idaho. It's just unheard of.
This is our home. This is our university. This is our community.
These murders have shaken our community, and no arrest will ever bring back these young students.
This was a violation of everything.
4 students found dead inside of their off-campus home. Roommates Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, Xana's boyfriend, had all been brutally stabbed to death. But the question was, who had done it? Well, police in Moscow, Idaho spent the holidays piecing together the crime and searching for the killer. Brian Kohlberger was finally arrested on December 30th. He's now serving 4 life sentences in an Idaho prison with a target on his back. Apparently, the other prisoners don't like him very much. And Kohlberger has reportedly threatened to harm himself if he's not transferred to a new section of the prison. But his latest complaint? The food, especially the bananas. Let's talk about this. Let's bring in criminologist, author, and professor at St. Thomas University, someone who's followed this case from the very beginning, Dr. Debbie Goodman. Good morning, Dr. Debbie. Always wonderful to see you. And I know you're thinking about these victims, as you always do. This was a crime that wrecked their holidays and the lives of their surviving family members, you know, for forever. I mean, this just, the way these families were put on, you know, pins and needles from the 13th all the way into the new year. I'm sure this time of year, it's probably just awful for them to have that reminder. Your thoughts, please, Doctor.
Yes, Julie, good morning. I agree with you. I think in this case and other high-profile cases of mass murder, serial murder, these killers are so intentional, Julie, about the day, the date, so no doubt about it. He intended to do this during Thanksgiving, Christmas time, the whole holiday period, which is such a favorite and favored time of year among people around the globe. But Julie, interestingly, I have another theory that we've not discussed in the 3 years about why he selected this date. And recall the savage slaughter of November 13th. But his birthday, Julie, Brian Koberger's birthday, is November 21st. I believe that he wanted to be a murderer by his 28th birthday, hence why he also took that disgusting, despicable selfie hours after.
Wow. Dr. Debbie, I have chills. I have chills hearing you say that. You know, and here's what's interesting. Recently, a law enforcement officer close to the case investigation has said that Brian Koberger is apparently reaching out to other serial killers from the prison. I'm sure that doesn't surprise you.
Right. I believe what that speaks to, Julie, is again these words that we know describe him, the grandiosity, the narcissism. This individual has just such an inflated sense of self that he's almost taking pride and pleasure in being among this despicable club of killers. So I believe he walked into this maximum security prison thinking he's some type of VIP inmate that other inmates will bow down toward and respect. But quite the contrary, particularly with your other statement about his complaints about food.
Right. What's that about? Could we talk about that? I understand that he's vegan, nothing wrong with that, but who doesn't like bananas? I mean, have you ever met a vegan who doesn't like bananas? What's his problem? Do you think it's just he's finding something wrong with everything he's given?
Yeah, I really think, Julie, all of this speaks to the capital C. For Brian Koberger, everything and anything is about control. He is absolutely without control in this environment. He thought he controlled the whole narrative of what he did to Maddie, Kaylee, Ethan, Zana, and he cannot control one thing while he is in protective custody. So he is writing complaint after complaint, trying to get his location moved. I'm sure he read a corrections textbook that spoke to, the best ways to request or get oneself moved from one environment to the next, and hence why he's trying to indicate potential self-harm, and I don't believe him.
Right. Dr. Debbie, for someone like this, did it make it more thrilling for him to have this happen around the time of the holiday season when, as you said, it's a time of joy for most?
I believe so, Julie. I believe that dual intent. Yes, the holiday season, similarly where I'm from, Florida, Nicholas Cruz, he killed 17 students at a high school. What day did he pick? Valentine's Day. So I know you'll be running the segment with other killers and the selectivity of their dates, but I actually think he wanted to bring, grim and dim to what's such a light and bright time of year, but he also wanted to be a killer by his birthday.
Yeah, wow. I think that is a great theory, Dr. Debbie. One I haven't heard postured by anybody. You're the first. I really hope you'll write a book on this case, and I hope you'll come back as we continue our Spotlight segment with the 12 days of holiday crimes. Thanks so much, Dr. Debbie. And coming up next for you on opening statements, here's what we've got.
Right now, I have not always been the victim, but right now I'm the freaking victim in this situation. I'm scared to go downstairs and walk my dogs. I just walked in and I told him, you don't have a chance, and now all of a sudden this is all happening.
What's his name?
Christian Tobecha. Christian? Please, just don't get me kicked out of my own apartment.
You just want to get him.
Just get him out.
I'm scared. I'm scared of him.
Will OnlyFans model Courtney Clenny get out on bond? We've got one of America's favorite judges joining us live next.
This is the Court TV Podcast.
Welcome back. Now for what's tipping the scales of justice. Courtney Clenny is back in the headlines. Question is, could she be out of jail soon? The OnlyFans model was accused of murdering her boyfriend, Christian Autumn Sewell, during an argument that happened in their Miami condo back in 2022. Courtney Clenny claims that she killed Autumn Sewell in self-defense by throwing a knife at him. She was arrested more than 3 years ago, and she's been held in the jail ever since. But at a hearing on Friday, the judge set a hearing date of December 18th to reconsider her bond. Her defense team has also accused the state of Florida of dragging their feet on various issues.
All other motions have not been responded to in writing at all, and my communication attempts with the state have fell on deaf ears until yesterday. I had not heard from them in probably about 30 days, despite repeated emails. I know Mr. Avaloff is in a death penalty case and then out. I do understand that, and out for the holidays. But we need some hard dates for them to respond.
So the key question, should Courtney Clenny get bond? And what things will the judge look at? What are the factors that the court must consider when weighing whether a defendant is appropriate for a bond? Well, we couldn't have a better expert on the show to help us talk about this. Let's welcome in retired Judge Larry Seidlin, famously presided over Anna Nicole Smith's body case. He was on the bench in family court in Florida for nearly 3 decades. Judge, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming on the program. All right, so where do we begin? Courtney Clenny, let's start with the considerations. What are the things that you would go through, Judge, in assessing whether she deserves bond?
There's a number of factors. As you know, the bedrock concept in criminal justice is a presumption of innocence. Therefore, if there's a presumption of innocence, the individual should be outside the jail waiting for trial. But then you have to factor in the danger that that individual presents to the community. So it's a balancing act. Their freedom to be out of jail versus the danger of them being on the street. And then the bond is there to guarantee their appearance in future hearings, and future proceedings. But there's a secret here. There's a secret. The secret is when I appear in court for my clients, there's a risk for the judge. The judge needs to keep their job. So think of this. If I, as a judge, granted a bond to an individual on a murder too, is that individual likely to commit another crime? Now, if I let them go on a bond and they commit another crime, I'll be washing your car for a living. The voters will vote me out of office because a judge in Florida stands for election every 6 years. So the first consideration is the judge protecting him or herself. They have to feel very comfortable that if they let this defendant out of the jail, this defendant will present no danger to anyone else. Now, you also look at whether or not she's committed prior crimes. You look to see whether or not Courtney is likely to commit another crime. And you look to see if she is a flight risk, if she's going to take off to Morocco. Is she going to get on a plane and leave the country? And they're looking at that. But it's a balancing act. This murder, too, it's going to be difficult, very difficult to convince this judge to let her on the street.
Judge, this is really helpful insight you're sharing with us. I have a clip I want to play for you now. So we know that Courtney Clenny's defense team has levied accusations of prosecutorial misconduct at these Miami prosecutors for going through some messages that were private messages that Courtney Clenny had exchanged with her attorneys that they knew were privileged, but yet they went through them anyways. And now in the latest complaint, apparently there's some new evidence that they just learned about potentially that was destroyed. I have a clip of one of Courtney's attorneys coming on my show and talking with me about this. Let's take a look.
We found out in a collateral proceeding that
a witness, the first person to enter Miss Clenny's apartment, was videotaping on his phone and taking pictures. And after the police were interviewing him, they instructed him to delete all his videos and all the photos, which was the pristine alleged crime scene. So this is new evidence that I think the court needs to consider that this would have been helpful for the defense.
Okay, Judge Seidlin, what do you think? Should the court consider this as part of the quest for bond?
Yes, the statute says you got to look at the severity of the crime and whether or not you believe there's a reasonable certainty of the defendant being convicted. It's a dangerous place to be, criminal court, for a judge. They're high-profile cases, and if you make a mistake, your tail is on the line. So, you know, you sit there in your courtroom, you sit there in your chambers, and you say to yourself, I want to do the right thing by the public. I want to do the right thing by the defendant in the state of Florida, but I also want to hold my job. I want to hold the job. And you can see in today's political climate, every elected official, that's their number one consideration, holding the job. Now, in this case, the judge doesn't want to be on the front page of the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel by releasing Courtney and this woman going out and committing another crime. That judge will be on the front page, and that judge will be slaughtered in a trial when she has to face re-election. That's what's on her mind. They'll never tell you that, but that's coming from me, and I can tell you now because I spent 28 years on the bench, as you know. And every day you're a target. You got a big X on your back, and you're a target. Everybody's looking to take a shot at the judge. There's jealousy. There's all kinds of things going on, and you got to protect your position. That's what you have to do, number one. You want to do the right thing, but you got to protect your position. And it's dangerous letting a murderer 2 out on the street when it was such a open crime where she admits to stabbing this guy. She admitted it. Now she's going to admit
the knife. Yeah, that's within question.
It's self-defense. And they had a toxic relationship. It was a crazy relationship. They're fighting. They're making love. They're fighting. It was a brutal deal for both sides. And this court's going to consider it. So the court says to itself, okay, I'll let it sit in the can until the trial. Trial's coming up soon because the case has been sitting there already 2.5 years. So it just says, okay, I'll let it sit longer and let's have a trial. And the jury will decide whether she's guilty or not guilty.
Right, Judge. Yeah, trial hopefully is coming up soon. That's been one thing. They've never had a court date. It just, everything is motions, motions, motions. I can see why the defense is trying to get her out because a lot of time has passed. Judge, another reason why we love you so much, you always keep it real. You're telling us what's real. You're keeping it 100 with us, saying that judges have concerns about their jobs too. So we'll be mindful of that as we continue on and start Court TV Live today and watch some more cases. Judge Larry Seidlin, thank you so much. Happy holidays to you and your beautiful family.
You too.
Thank you
You
kindly.
too. Thank you.
And that's it for opening statements. We'll be right back with Court TV Live. That's all for this episode of Opening Statements, my friends. I'm your host, Julie Grant, and it's been great being with you. On this show, I am calling out any pants on fire moments in our big trials and true crime stories, and I want you to come along with me. Opening Statements is live every weekday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern on Court TV. Thank you for downloading this episode. Please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. You can watch past shows anytime you like on CourtTV.com.